Welcome to the Koji podcast. We have here Nicholas Tessera and David Good to his mother Espinoza. How are you doing today?
Hello. Top of the... Well, it's kind of nighttime now. Dawn of the night.
Okay. This whole accent. I didn't even get to hear yours.
I was trying it, but the thing gets...
Sorry.
It's like top of the morning.
Well, top of the morning, son.
Did you clean up my chimney? It needed a good cleaning.
Chim-chiray.
I found a chimney cricket.
Alright, so we are on the second episode of the series. I don't know, what would we call it? Like, romantic movie chick flicks. No.
Valentine themed.
Okay.
Chick flick. What day is it?
It's specifically romance movies.
You know what I'm thinking? We should probably do rom-com. I'm just saying. Anyways.
I'm calling.
Okay. This is a series of February romantic movies, the second episode, and today we'll be on Pride and Prejudice.
Bum bum bum.
I've watched it before, so I watched it twice, and you watched it like last week, I think.
Yeah, for the first time.
First time, after Becca tried convincing you for like so long, and then Nicholas.
I had to force myself to watch it.
Like,
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
near
right.
the end, I actually started enjoying it, so... But
You
the
just
first
like
time.
felt like gouging your eyes. In
In the beginning of it, I was like, oh
No,
boy.
I mean, for me, it was just like I was like, okay, is it really that boring, or is it just like my male mind? You know, my testosterone-filled mind, because I'm filled with so much. You know, it's just ridiculous.
It pours out of your sweat.
No, I'm just kidding. So, what are you guys' first thoughts on the movie? Like, because I know beforehand we were like, this is like gonna be the most boring movie ever, and what did it turn out to be like? for you guys?
I'll answer last.
Okay.
I guess it puts me first. My first thoughts was, I was like, wow, the language they speak is so boring to me. But then I got into it, and I was like, okay, now I'm digging it.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of it makes sense, but at the same time, they are still saying simple things.
Yeah, they like to
They like
sound
to-
fancy.
Yeah. So it's like just saying a bunch of random things. So many words just to say one little thing. Like,
Yeah.
I guess now we sort of simplified it.
The cinematography of the movie was really good. I enjoyed that too. I think that's what made it better. And I know there's other versions of the movie before. I think it's the 2005 one. Before that, I know there's different versions of it. I haven't seen those ones. But whenever I hear like Pride and Prejudice, the movie, that's usually what people most likely think of. I imagine the cinematography and maybe the actors also did a fantastic job. Acting was really good.
I will say, let it be known, we have not read the book.
Oh yeah, we gotta mention it.
The
Okay,
novel.
look, this is a review on the movie, okay? This is on the movie, not on the book. And this is a 2005 version with Keira Knightley, okay? We're not talking about the old movie version. I don't care, okay? I don't care if, we're completely wrong about these characters. We're basing it on the movie. So shut up! Shut up! Well, I guess I'll go. I thought it was gonna be really boring, and it wasn't action filled, because usually my kind of movies are like action filled, but it was it kept me interested enough to stay, but I wasn't embarrassed enough to leave, but I was still a little embarrassed. I was watching it. I convinced my little sister to put it on, so I had an excuse to watch it. And she left midway, and my dad came in. He was just like, "What are you watching?" And I think out of all at least the ones that we've reviewed and watched, out of all the romantic movies, it's like probably one of the better ones. It's definitely one of the better ones, just because it doesn't have all that impurity.
It's clean
and disgustingness, but there are things that are wrong. I mean, obviously the book is trying to highlight the movie is trying to highlight that these things are wrong, so if you want to point them out.
Okay, so I guess for me, yeah, like I had the same thoughts going into it, like, oh, this is just going to be a boring movie. And then I actually watched it, and I was still bored. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just
Can we dial down the toxic masculinity? Just a little bit.
No. I mean, you know, the more I thought about the movie, like I had to like think about the movie more after watching it, and then I was, you know, I began to appreciate it more. But like in the middle of it, like you said, I mean, I'm used to like other movies or whatever, and more action or whatever. So it was just hard for me to follow the dialogue, especially because I love subtitles, and that, you know, we were watching it with subtitles, right? But it was not synced with the voice. You know, so then, you know, for me, they were kind of talking fast, and I was like, what? I'm like trying to read, and then the voice is saying something else, and I'm like, you know, I was kind of, you know, caught off guard.
What are things in the movie that you thought that are actually really good, or that you think that more people should, like, bring into the relationship?
Okay, well, I mean, well, first of all, I do want to say, like, this is a very clean movie that you can show to your kids, and you know, get good lessons from it or whatever. Some good. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stories where you can see where bad things happen, and you can learn from them, right? But there's another phenomenon in movies, and especially in Hollywood, where they'll show a bad situation. Although, you know, people who want to support the movie say, oh, well, you know, that's just showing what not to do or whatever. It's like, no. Hollywood is clearly trying to highlight that this is good behavior. You know what I mean? Or at least that it's acceptable, or that, you know, nobody should have a problem with it or should just look the other way. But anyways, so in this movie, it doesn't really do that. You know, it kind of it kind of just displays the characters and you know, the different pitfalls, and then it shows virtue in other people. So, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I would show this to my daughters
Just for fun.
Just for fun, you know. I don't know. I'm trying
to
think of something.
Here's the thing: is that I wouldn't get a movie and just be like, okay, watch this movie, and learn how to date with it. You know, like,
you haven't seen Pride and Prejudice, you have to watch it. Oh.
It just, I mean, to me, it's just a movie. You know, it isn't like, oh, I'm gonna show my kids so that they know how to, you know, how relationships work or anything like that. But we thought it was just really funny that guys talk about this. I don't know.
Because the concept sounded funny, so we were like, you know what? Let's just do it.
Bunch of men talking about Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, it's not like we have anything else better to do with our lives, anyways.
Well.
I'm just
I mean, after saying that I was bored, I do want to say that it is interesting, and one thing that I was thinking about was maybe the book is lacking a lot of context for, like, especially things that they're probably thinking in their minds, or, you know, like, you know how, like, in a book, you know, a little gesture will, like, change the context of the situation. You know, it doesn't. Yeah, but in the movie, you know, it's just all happening, you know, seemingly real time. You know. And it's kind of just going really quick. Where in a book you can kind of enjoy that more. But yeah, I mean, those are my first thoughts about the movie.
My first thought was definitely the conversations. It reminded me of all those Victorian books and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. How they always talk like that. And, you know, it's like, I guess you can say it's its own, like, subgenre. Some people love that to death, and some people get bored of it. I kind of get bored to death. Well, once I get started into something,
I mean, like, you could put the pieces together.
Yeah, you can put the pieces together, which is fun. And then I like some of the character dynamics; they were pretty fun, and to kind of see how they would bounce off each other. And, you know, Pride and Prejudice. Definitely, those are the two main themes of the whole film, and also the novel.
Should we give a little summary? Probably should give a little summary of the movie, right? I think you probably be the best qualified, because I'm like.
Oh, no.
So there were two people.
Have you heard me explain things on this podcast? Like, you can barely understand what I'm saying.
So there were.
Well, you're like one of my best friends, and you don't want my podcast.
Hey. I'll start.
It's because you're white. I'm just kidding.
Well, you guys take your turns explaining it in your own terms.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Do like scene by scene. Right.
Okay. And we have to act it out too. No, I'm just kidding.
Act it out.
Too many words to be able.
Well, just summarize it in your way in, like, what, 10 to 15 seconds?
That's a little too quick.
Okay.
Okay, try to go as fast as you can. I mean, not like easy, quick.
I mean, I can break it down pretty fast, I guess. I mean, there's a.
Wait. Ready, set, go.
Oh gosh. There's a family. They're all daughters, and and the mother wants them all to get married off.
Yeah.
Because that's how you make money, I guess.
Don't get stuck in the details. We're running short. No, I'm just kidding.
One of the main daughters. Why did I forget her name?
Is there like a
Elizabeth?
Is there like a main like?
I guess
for every family, are you like the main son or what?
Who's the main son of you then?
I don't know.
Anyway, Elizabeth, she meets a man that she kind of likes, but then at the same time doesn't. She's very prideful and has prejudice towards him as well, and as well as the guy has towards her as well. But they have some sort of like spark or something there, but really not. All the other daughters get into other different situations with other men. They end up getting kind of heartbroken, but then marrying. At the end of the day, Elizabeth and Darcy gonna get married. That was a horrible explanation of the whole film, but hey, it's a romance movie. Love.
Dang it, you took my summary. I was just gonna say love.
Okay, so for me, there was a man and there was a woman. They both had pride and prejudice, and many things happened in the relationship that removed that pride and removed their prejudice. They let the guard down and they let love take the wheel. They got married in the end, and that's the end of the story. Other things happen with their sisters, but that's beside the point. Oh, dang, he's cracking his neck.
Actually, I think I'd rather let Andrew Tate explain for me.
Oh, yeah, he's calling in right now.
I'm going to channel him, okay? All right, let's start humming. I'm just going to...
Wait.
Oh, wait, we just got word. Andrew Tate's in the building.
What?
Well, I actually love the movie. I thought that people... No, I hated it. Because it is about status. We men should have as much money and cars as they possibly can.
Status.
Carriages, by the way.
Yes. What color's your carriage?
Okay, that was a little...
What color's your carriage?
I just sound gay.
Just keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
With Andrew Tate. Okay.
So summarize it. Come on.
Okay.
If I was Mr. Darcy, I would have taken all the sisters. You know why? Because in the UK, you can marry someone who's 16 years of age. That's not a minor. You see?
Have you heard him talk about that though? Actually,
really? No.
he's like DMing 16-year-olds because they're not considered. Yeah, because they're not considered minors in the UK.
When people cut that close to the edge, it's like, come on, just stop. We know, like, no.
Okay, so
Not healthy.
I'll give my actual take. Well, I mean, I think the reason I liked it is just because it's sort of breaking the boundaries between status. Because Mr. Darcy could have gotten any other rich woman to be even richer than he was, but he was already, filthy stinking rich.
But married his aunt. I'm just kidding. Or whoever that was.
He was okay, marrying Elizabeth, and it wasn't about because she had money or she would bring him some sort of worldly accomplishment or anything like that. It was more like that he saw that she was not like other girls. That she was I guess.
Could you say that she humbled him, in a way, and then he was like, "What is this feeling?"
I guess so. It was more like.
He's like, "I love this."
Look, it's because he's into abusive relationships. He wants to be hurt by the other. That's the only way whoever loves someone is if they hurt him. Anyways, no, I mean, because like we were saying, the whole movie, everyone is after someone because they want to, be rich or have some sort of status, or just feel some emotion like Lydia, one of the younger sisters, and but this was more out of I guess you could say a truer love, because it wasn't for anything worldly. It was more of I want to be with this person because I think that we would fit together right. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was my take on the movie. Oh wait, I was supposed to summarize it.
No, but I mean that was a good take. That was a good take. I mean,
I guess on those two characters, I mean, a bunch of other characters.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you really, really want to talk about Mrs. Bennet.
Yeah.
Okay, so confession here, Mrs. Bennet is my wife. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, yeah, I think one thing that really stood out to me was Mrs. Bennet, the mom of Elizabeth, because she was just like, like, we need to go to this party so that you can see rich men and be with them and blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, just like, she didn't really care about, I guess, their salvation or, because they were, Anglican, I assume, if they're in England. So, I mean, they had some sort of religion in them. And so she didn't really care about, really, like, the quality of the person they were with, just like if they were able to provide. And that was solely just that, And I think that sort of reflects on, like, people today where they're like someone won't let their daughter marry someone because, or they won't not let them, but they'll just, like, always discourage it just because they have, like, less money or whatever. But you got to focus on the character, on the content of his character. And, Mrs. Bennet didn't do that. Like, because Lydia, like, I think you said, right, that, were you saying, did you mention that Lydia left?
Oh, yeah, when she left with the soldier boy?
Yeah, she went with Mr. Wickham, and obviously, they eloped, but they weren't getting married because he was too poor, and she was poor too, her family was poor. And so Mr. Darcy saved the day or whatever, but, like, Mrs. Bennet didn't really care, like, she was just happy that their family name wasn't ruined. She didn't really care about the daughter. The whole time she was thinking, oh, we're ruined. Our family's going to look like a disgrace and everything. Even though the mom makes them, embarrasses their family every time they go to a party. And that's something that Mr. Darcy himself explained, like, to Elizabeth, like, okay, I know your family's crazy, but I want to be with you, So, yeah. You guys have any?
I mean, come on, what greater love is that, Even though your family's crazy, I still love you, and, I want to start my family with you. How could she have taken that as an insult? Makes no sense.
I mean, you had some pretty great points about Mrs. Bennet. I think the father should have been a little more,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
father-like in the
Yeah,
family.
she wore the pants in the family.
I guess the skirt.
He seemed to be more in charge of, like, the property and, like, to provide for the family. But that seemed about it. Tending to his daughters, I didn't see too much of that.
Yeah.
Where I think a father can also be a good, figure for, like the children.
Well, yeah, because he's supposed to be, like, the example of what his daughters should be looking for in a man.
Yeah, and of course he should be not like super active in controlling the relationships, obviously, but he should definitely try to give his opinion on different people based on their virtue, and when it came to Wickham, if somehow he could have noticed that that someone was interested in him and what does he know about Wickham, or maybe try to get to know him. I don't know. You know what I mean? To kind of just look after his daughter. Because for example, I'm sorry, I think you did mention this earlier, right? That Lydia ran away with Wickham?
Yeah.
And, but that's because they were going to go to a party, right? And the dad was like, oh, he's not.
But it was, like, in a different, like, pretty far away, right?
It was far away, and it was by herself, or what?
It was by herself, but, like, I guess it was, like, with her,
and there was
some family that they knew, I think.
Yeah, so the point is that Elizabeth, she knew that something bad was probably going to happen, but her dad was kind of being a little bit careless, a little bit inattentive, Well,
because he asked Elizabeth for her opinion in letting Lydia go.
Yeah.
To that party with all the soldiers.
And even with Elizabeth's good opinion, he's like, it's okay. And then what happens is she gets kidnapped. Okay, maybe not kidnapped. No, she elopes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's.
And how old was she? Like 15, 16?
Yeah, this is like the 18th century.
Okay, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good now, but back then, I mean, people were married super young.
So the point is that me in that situation would be like girl, I don't want you going anywhere by yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to have someone with you that we know, or you know, maybe I don't do they allow me to go to that party? You know, so I know that you're safe at least. You know, I don't want to be talking for you in relationships, like, you know, being your chaperone, you know, or anything. I just want to know that you're safe. You know, so that's what I saw. Like, he should have been more protective of his daughters. But yeah.
I mean, I guess at one point he did stand up for Elizabeth when she didn't. Because remember her cousin, the pastor, Mr. Collins?
Yeah.
He wanted to marry her, but she didn't like him at all. Like, she thought he was weird, and he proposed to her. And the mother was trying to force her to go with Mr. Collins because, you know, he could give her a good life or whatever, and, you know, he had some money. But like, why are you going to go with someone if you don't actually love them? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. And so at that point, the dad did sort of step in and say, well, I don't even have to say it, but he just, you know, sort of stood up for a little bit.
Kind of, but like I feel like Mrs. Bennett kind of just like, I don't know, just like machine gun. She always has that machine gun approach to her words, and the dad's kind of like, oh, just getting shot over here. He's like, oh, it's okay. I waved the white flag, but in secret, you know, hey, you know, shouldn't marry him, you know?
Yeah.
But whatever. So, I was going to say, when it comes to virtue, I think Elizabeth...
She has none. I'm just kidding.
Elizabeth perceived, and, well, maybe she did see a lack of virtue in Darcy, because he does look down on people, right? And has some rash judgment, but she also saw the virtue in him of the other things that he did for love of her, right? So the different things that he did were saved. Well, not only did she save Lydia, right? Because it was a great scandal, because, you know, they weren't married and they eloped together, you know. So basically, it says something bad about her character and the character of her family. So Mr. Darcy kind of saved them by giving the money to Wickham so that they could get married.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Wickham was basically like, if you give me money, then I'll get married with her. You know, so, you know, and so that's one good thing. And the other good thing that he did was bring back Mr. Bingley so that Elizabeth's older sister Jane could marry Mr. Bingley, because at first he had discouraged it, but because
we mentioned Mr. Bingley, right? Or no?
I don't think we have mentioned.
He was one of Mr. Darcy's like rich friend, best friend.
Rich friend.
And he had persuaded his friend that Jane, Elizabeth's older sister, didn't actually love him, and because Mr. Darcy actually believed that. Like, that's why David was saying that he sort of looked down on people and made rash judgments on them before. You know, sometimes it was true, but other times it was maybe he made it too quick of a judgment, you know. And
it was just his perception, and it wasn't the reality.
Yeah, and so, but at the end, Mr. Darcy brings them back together, just to get with Elizabeth. So I don't know if he's a simp or he's virtuous. So, okay.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I guess Mr. Darcy had a really big influence on Mr. Blaine, because he took advice from Mr. Darcy. Like, he trusted him, even with his own relation advice. Even though he was like truly in love with Jane, and he was like, I can do it. Like, he probably could have stand up for himself and be like, Mr. Darcy, I got it, and then just did his own thing. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Darcy was like, no, don't go for it. And he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna go for it. And he really took his advice.
But Mr. Bingley should have at least just talked to Jane. That's all. That's literally all he had to do. He was like, he was like super nervous around Jane.
But yeah, he could have just stuck up for Mr. Darcy, being his own man. You know, I mean, even if he was gonna go out with him, you gotta be your own man. You gotta be the father figure. You can't let Mr. Darcy guide your marriage the entire way. You gotta be the person. So it's good to start there and kind of like build yourself up, and then you can, you know, have your character built.
So am I Mr. Darcy to you when it comes to relationships?
You do boss people around.
So the only two main guys. I guess there's three guys, right? Wickham, Darcy, and Bingley. But Wickham's kind of more. Collins, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was gonna say who of each of us is.
He's a funny
is more.
You're Mr. Collins.
You know what? Mr. Collins was funny
He
though.
was straightforward. The man, he was a character.
Like, yeah, to me, like whenever I saw his performance, to me it reminded me of a comedy. You know, like it's kind of like I don't know,
Actually,
like
I came here to marry you.
Exactly.
I intend to follow you throughout the night.
it
Is
was,
that all right?
and he was like, you guys might not know this, and because you know I don't know, like I display it so well, but I actually practice what I'm about to say before I say it or whatever. And it was just
Why are you gonna say that?
like to me it was funny, you know, like I don't know.
If the man spoke better, he would have been the chat of the movie. The man knew what he wanted.
I mean, okay, people have disagreed with me, but one thing I did want to touch on is because remember Elizabeth rejected his proposal, Mr. Collins' proposal, but then like a couple of days later, or maybe I don't know how long later, her best friend, Mr. Collins proposes to Charlotte, and Charlotte accepts, and I mean I think this personally, but some people don't agree. But I mean, for me, I think at the very least, it's questionable whether Charlotte actually loved him because she did think he was weird, and she like her excuse for going with him was, oh, but he's gonna give me, you know, a home, or whatever, you know, like I mean, because she lived with her parents, but she was already older, and her excuse was like, oh, well, you know, he has money and I could be with him, you know, but like, I think you could still question whether she actually loved him. Or what? What do you think?
Would anyone love Mr. Collins?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Maybe it says guys who judge his character a little different than women. I don't know. The man, he has a big heart but small guy. Maybe just change his appearance and then he'll probably be more respected.
Well, I mean, about what you were saying about Charlotte, I mean, it's true, you know. But that could also be said about anyone. Like, you never know the person's heart. But regardless of that, as Catholics viewing this movie, right? Like, since marriage is a vocation, you wink at the camera. Since marriage is a vocation, right? From that day forward, each of you is the bestower of the sacrament. It's not the priest. So you're giving, you know, you're saying your vows that you're gonna love this man till you die, right? So whether she actually lives that out after she says her vows or not, it's up to her, right? But maybe there were other reasons for the marriage, but when she says those vows, then she promises that love, and that love she has to give. You know?
except they're Anglicans.
Ooh, but here's a good question: did Mr. Collins love Charlotte?
Well, yeah, because the only reason he was going out to find someone was because the owner of the estate, what was her name? Lady Catherine, demanded that he have a wife because he's a pastor, and I guess she wanted him to like be the example of a family for like his congregation, and so yeah, I mean, hey, it's something to think about.
So it wasn't really a real marriage. He just needed someone to fix that hole.
Well, yeah, because like he started liking Elizabeth, but then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it didn't work. So he's just like instantly like goes for some random person, you know, and they get married like very soon after that.
No single blessedness.
Oh, there's no single blessing.
Everyone's getting married.
So one thing we noticed is that back then, it is a good. I think it's really good that they're more focused on their vocation. Like back then, I think that's something we've sort of lost. Obviously, we've already pointed out all the bad things that they had back then. Like, you know, at least in the movie, with, you know, that they would do it for status or for money or whatever. But I think it is good that they were looking for the vocation, because what is our vocation for, right? God gives each one of us as Catholics, you know, well, everyone a vocation, and we have to follow through with it. And the thing is that we'll be most happy doing that vocation, whether it's being married, whether it's being a priest, or being, you know, in the religious life. And yeah, I think that's something that we need more nowadays, because I think it's sort of like a bunch of young people. They like when they should start thinking about their vocation when they're like pretty young, so they start developing the virtues necessary and start testing where they think they belong to, you know. Because then now, like people are in their 30s or late 20s and they're like, oh, what do I do? You know, and it's like, well, this whole time you were in college or whatever, doing whatever, like you were just wasting all that time. Like your whole life is to reach heaven, and your vocation is gonna help you with that. Your vocation is gonna be the happiest and easiest way to heaven, and God chose that for us, you know, at the day of our, before the beginning of time, you know.
Would you say that at that time, in history, like they were doing all the right things, but maybe they didn't have their heart in it, and they were thinking more about status and all those other things that we were talking about?
More for like survival, because
Right.
back then, if you didn't have a family.
Whereas now we want to do it for the heart, but Hollywood kind of just distorts, like all of the culture that we have now, it just distorts everything, and it's saying that the heart is either sensual pleasure or emotional pleasure.
Well, yeah, because now when people see two people that want to get married, they just see, oh, they just want to do it because, for fun or whatever, for the marital act or whatever, or because they're desperate or they're young, they're too immature. And obviously, you look around, people are not mature, as they were back then. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's still impossible for someone young to be mature. I've met 40, 50-year-olds, older than that, who are not even as mature as someone I've met that was 16 or 15.
I mean, well,
I think that's sort of touch on there, right?
Well, I mean, just that we have to bring that back. We have to have both. We have to do the right things. So we have to have the right maturity, and we have to have our heart in it.
Yeah, and start accomplishing the goals necessary to. I mean, start doing the things necessary to reach that goal. Because if you're just like, oh, I want to get married, and you're just like laying back and just not working, or just not really. Because you're not really, that means you don't really want to reach that goal. Mm-hmm. You're just saying that you want to just so you don't feel bad about it,
Yeah, or other people could, like, see a young couple or whatever and be like, whoa, they got married so young? I want to get married so young. And then they'll just basically fall into all the Hollywood stuff that we were talking about, Just, they're just in La La Land, or, what's it called? Pun not intended, or whatever.
Romantic movie. Well, I guess more of a musical, but anyway.
And
continue.
So anyways, so they'll just rush into marriage like a Hollywood movie, right? But that's not what we're trying to get at here,
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to the young person that wants to get married, okay, become virtuous,
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe Jane Austen can help you. If you like reading, maybe pick up one of her books.
No, and it's like. Well, I was talking with my dad today, and he was reading the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and it's basically letters, fictional letters between two demons, and the nephew demon is trying to, bring someone to hell for eternity, and the uncle is helping him, giving him advice. And so he was like, I guess the person that, that he was working with, the nephew was working with, he converted. And he was panicking and everything. And so he was telling the uncle, and the uncle was like, don't worry, because even though they've converted, that doesn't mean that means that they still have their bad habits. Maybe they've changed their way of thinking, but they still have their bad habits. They haven't gained the virtues still. And so right now, it's still, like, right now just have him focus on the most, more material things or more, like, sensual things. So that way, he gets sucked back into it, Or maybe even goes into, like, a lukewarm phase, which is even worse.
So, yeah, I think if you think about young marriage, think about it seriously and maturely. Mm-hmm. Sorry for doing that. Okay. Because marriage, like nowadays, everybody, laughs at marriage. Like, oh yeah, worst decision of my life, or I don't know, like, or I don't know, like, I was happy and then I got married. You know what I mean? Like that. That's everywhere. Like everybody hears that, but and marriage is supposed to be a cross, but not the cross, not in the way that people portray it. You know, so it shouldn't. Whenever people have that, what's it called? Whenever people think that about marriage, or it's just a drag on my life, and I just want to be free, you know. That's because maybe you haven't matured. You know, you don't want to take on any duties, you know, and so the reason marriage is a cross is not because it has, because it's annoying and it just restricts you from doing what you really want to do. Marriage is a cross because it's a total giving of yourself, you know. So someone entering marriage has to realize that it's, me sacrificing myself on the cross and giving it my 100%, you know. There's no 50-50 in a marriage. There's 100% and 100%, you know. So because there's two individual souls in this marriage that are united, you know. It's not like, I'll give you 50% of my effort and you give no. You give me all of your soul when you say those marriage vows, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was think seriously about marriage. And if you're young, this is good. We need a lot of young people. Because obviously, everybody says, oh yeah, we need the young people, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they just want them to sing Kumbaya by the fire or whatever. It's like,
they just want to see the numbers.
Yeah. They just want them to show up or whatever. It's like, no. I don't want them to just show up. I want them to give their lives in marriage or in the priesthood or, things like that. So yeah, that's and all this came from one word, no single blessedness. Because a lot of people think that, a vocation, or that being single is a vocation, which it's not. I mean, it's a state of life, it's a state in life that many people have. I mean, everybody has been in at one point. You know what I mean? I'm married now. You guys aren't married yet. yet.
Hey, call up Nick. I'll put his phone number in the description.
Oh, there you go. And people say, oh, it's beautiful to be single, which it can be, but it depends on what you're thinking about. You know what I mean? If you're thinking it's beautiful to be single because I'm growing, I'm growing and I'm moving towards my goals. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because God sometimes He does want us to, especially for some people, to stay single for a little longer, maybe for patience or whatever reason He has.
But maybe there are no eligible women.
Yeah.
It's just,
or maybe he needs to grow up a little more. God is just like, this guy needs serious butt whipping.
Or he wants them for the priesthood, So, but yeah, I mean, obviously speak to your spiritual director. But I've heard Father Ripper say that if you're single for a long period of time, years or whatever, and you still can't find anyone, maybe you should start looking into the priesthood. Yeah.
But then also I think Father Ripper has mentioned also that the reason he sort of likes, he's for, young couples getting married, because when you're alone for so long, you start getting these habits that are more self-centered, and so when you have to be with someone, you all of a sudden decide you want to be with someone, it's gonna be a lot harder, and you're gonna have all these habits that you're gonna bring into the marriage because you were so used to just having everything for yourself. But I think that has to do the same thing with maturity, Because I'm not saying that every single person is, self-centered.
Yeah, and also can the same wave to the priesthood
or
other religious life. I think it's good to study up on marriage, or if you're looking at the different vocations, to really study and to understand what it's all about. And that'll give you also, if it doesn't work out with one, it'll probably give you a better understanding for the other. It's really good to, figure out what you want and what God wants you to have. And then from there, it would be a little smoother transition, and you probably won't fail as much. But, you're always going to struggle. There's always going to be a struggle in every situation you're going to be in. But at least it won't be as bad, or you won't be as clueless. You'll know kind of where to look for, or what's kind of a red flag that's going to pop up that you can avoid. So it's good to kind of have both your eyes open while driving.
What would you give advice to someone who's well, I can't find anyone who's virtuous and blah blah blah, but they're not even going on dates with anyone. You know what I mean? They're not. like maybe they're not even talking to the girl. They're just like, well, there's nobody. You know, like what would you say to that person?
They're not trying, or
Well, they think they're trying, but they're not really trying.
work on yourself more, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, because I think at that point you're sort of just like you're stopping yourself at that point, you know?
Yeah. If there's clearly nobody there, like if there's like absolute,
Like if they're all like like Susans of the parish council.
just either go somewhere else. I would think.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe somebody might have high expectations. They're like, oh, I didn't see this person doing this prayer or that prayer, or I don't know, they didn't stay longer after Mass, or, it's like, well,
They weren't in adoration.
Yeah, they weren't in adoration or whatever.
I was in adoration for 1 minute longer than them.
I left as soon as they left. Longer.
And so if that's what's stopping them, they should actually talk to the person and get to know them. I mean, maybe they just haven't been introduced to Eucharistic adoration before. Maybe they, maybe they love the Mass and they love our Lord. Maybe they have a good relationship with God. Maybe they don't, and maybe by you talking to them, it helps them or whatever. Obviously, you want to look for someone who has a good relationship with God. At least to begin with, right? Like a decent relationship with God, someone who goes to Mass and, isn't sinning, like in a big way that you can tell. Like if you know that they're a bank robber. Yeah, and that's another good reason to not put your total trust in someone.
Is there anything else you guys want to touch on?
Let me see. Darcy is a potential sugar daddy.
Okay, what do you mean by that? I think you have to explain a little more.
I don't know. I don't know what I meant when I wrote it.
Why bring it up?
It sounded funny, and
It does, but I don't think he is actually. Now that I think about it, he's probably not a sugar daddy. He's more of a sugar daddy. I know we're getting some weird territory. But to me, a sugar daddy is like someone who like pays for like the lady, but doesn't actually like spend time or doesn't care about her that much, and just like spends maybe a day there with her, and then she doesn't care for him, but she's just there because the wealth, and that seems to be it.
Okay, but I have to agree on one thing. The girl has to pay on the first date, right? Just kidding.
Unless she asks you out and takes you out. See, the man, he gets to pick the place, so of course he has to pay. Now, if the girl picks the place, I'm still gonna pay because I'm not breaking that standard.
I was about to be like, I don't think we could be friends anymore.
I'm not breaking that standard.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's always gonna pay. Yeah.
It's just you gotta carry that cross, man.
It's like practicing for marriage right there. Because he's going to be the breadwinner. I mean, that's how it is. That's how God created it. One man, one woman. They both have their roles in marriage.
Yeah. I suppose you could also see, I mean, you got to see what kind of girl you want also. So, like, if you
I want a tall, blonde,
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, maybe you don't take her to somewhere too fancy and she's offended, like, very offended. You'd be like, well, that's weird. Why are you so offended at this? I mean,
yeah. Okay, I think you're still getting in the territory of red flags, right? What's a red flag for you? Or what are red flags for you? That are more subtle. Obviously, like if she's a bank robber, okay, that's a red flag,
Ooh, a subtle red flag.
Hangs out with a lot of guys.
My sister. We're all brothers. It's only all brothers, one sister, so. I'm sorry, she can't marry. She's just one big red flag.
Let's see. Probably, I would say, like, too emotional. Can't detach from that, because that could be a problem later down the road.
Gonna have to kill her. I'm just kidding.
But how would that emotion...
How do you judge?
Like, how would you judge that? Because girls are emotional, obviously. They're more emotional than men, but, like where would Like, what would be some signs?
It's like too
More
much.
signs where they don't use their logic. If it's a logical situation and they go based off more emotion towards a situation. Where it's like you could be logical, like saving your money, but they're like, I need it though. And it's like, do you really need it? Like trying to be logical, right? The logistics of it all. And you're like, it's, no. And they're just like, no, I need it. Like they might be passionate about it.
Because I think maybe, because obviously, women are more led by emotions like more frequently. But I think what you mean is like, would she be willing to still follow me, even though? Because I showed her the rational path. But is she still willing to follow me?
Yeah, just show
'Cause-
some control.
Because obviously, if a girl just like, oh no, I want to get this and this and that. I mean, that's normal. You know, you go shopping with girls and okay,
Well, it's
I
the
have to
same for
confess,
guys.
I've.
I was gonna say, you probably did the same. I probably do the same too.
But yeah, I think what you're sort of getting is like if they're willing to follow, right?
Yeah.
Or listen, at least listen to reason.
Yeah.
Maybe if they're not the ones that bring the reason in, but you brought it in.
Definitely. Also, yeah, I guess that's a.
I mean,
this is for guys who are wearing the red tinted glasses.
Yeah.
I would say like when you bring up a concern in the relationship and they get overly defensive about it and they don't want to talk about it and they just almost demonize you for, bringing that up or whatever, so. So like if you actually see a problem in the relationship and you bring it up and you actually want to talk about it and she's like, oh, like, I didn't know that you thought that, and I'm trying to understand you. You know what I mean? So I think that's good. What about you?
Okay, a red flag. Let me see. I mean, I think you sort of touched on that, but you were like talking about emotional. I think maybe someone who's confused. Someone who's not making a decision. And doesn't know what they want, because they could be a good person, they could be nice, they could be, Oh, actually, does a nice person really make a good person? At the same time, niceness isn't always everything.
Yeah.
There's times where you got to put away human respect. But anyways, you got to make sure that they know what they want. Or at least, maybe if they don't know, you sort of, I guess. I mean, because obviously, if you're a guy looking, Catholic guy looking for his vocation, you want a girl that wants to get married, right? And
And who knows that?
Yeah, and who knows that they want to get married and wants to have kids and a bunch of other things. But if they're just confused and like, what are you gonna do? Sure, she's nice, but like, you're just gonna be stuck in the same place.
Yeah. So, and it's a good thing that you would use the word confusion, because then other girls could just have not really have given it much thought yet.
Yeah.
So then by you kind of explaining what you would want out of a relationship, right? Because all relationships should be aimed towards marriage, So if you were to explain that, and she would be like, okay, I know what you mean, and obviously she should understand that you're not proposing to her on the spot,
You're just explaining.
I think we have to do the cameras again. So anyways, like I was saying, if you explain to the girl like what you really want out of the relationship and that dating is supposed to be for marriage, then the girl's supposed to understand. At least you're supposed to be a good explainer, anyways. You're supposed to be a good mansplainer. I'm just kidding.
Embrace your toxic masculinity.
There you speak to me like that.
And
There he goes explaining it again.
what's supposed
Shut
to
up! Can't you see women are watching this? Maybe like one or two.
So they're supposed to understand that you're not proposing, right?
Wait, is this still recording?
So you're not proposing, but you just want to make your intentions clear, that you're trying to get to know each other to see if you would really want to marry each other, or if you whatever, and no hard feelings if maybe I change my mind about this relationship, and that's why you shouldn't get too involved to begin with. I mean, by involved, what I really mean is like too attached. Emotionally attached. That's why you're asking each other meaningful questions, right? Along, obviously, making it all fun. It's not just an interview, right? It's it's
no one wants to do that.
yeah, no.
When you want to get married.
Sign on the dotted line.
Mr. Collins.
You
So
can't
this is
you
a
can't get a better deal.
It's a 10-month contract.
10-month contract.
And so yeah, I mean, both of you are just getting to know each other so that you could see if you could have the same values and the same idea of marriage, the same way you want to raise your kids, the same way you want to parent, and I guess the same thing, but the same way you want to, live out your marriage and your roles in that marriage. So yeah.
Okay, and what do you think is a red flag in a guy?
A red flag in a guy?
Yeah.
What about Mr. Wickham?
Mr. Wickham?
Wickham. Did you think he was a red flag to begin with? Or he had red flags? Or whatever?
Well, he was more like a poser, was he not?
Yeah.
I think he was like trying to be like, oh, I'm a rich like soldier guy in the military.
But yeah, he was lying.
Mhm.
So make himself look good.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say he was rich.
I don't think he said he was rich.
Well, he did say he was lowly, right?
Yeah, he's just like, I'm just a poor.
Oh, yeah, that's
okay,
true.
That's what
I'm
it
just
is.
a poor,
He's
poor,
trying to play on her.
nobody loves me.
He's trying
Yeah.
to get the pity points.
Yeah, there you go.
He's a
Maybe
pick me boy.
that's
He's a pick me
That's
guy.
a red flag right there.
Yeah, so I
Like,
think
oh, pick me up, sure.
yeah. So I think Mr. Wickham's a pick me guy. Mr. Bingley, I'm sure probably had virtue, but he wasn't willing to stand up. I mean, he wasn't really willing to like. Maybe he was willing, but he wouldn't like take control of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Ownership of his life.
Exactly.
You know?
And then Mr. Darcy, I mean, man, the guy was a legend. No, I mean, he had his flaws and everything, but at the end, he decided to do the right things.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I think that's the man you want to be, the one that corrects himself and tries to do better.
Like I said, like he did things, he went out of his way because he loved her, you know? And in the end, he was going to accept whatever response she had to his, offer of marriage or whatever, or profession of love or whatever. So he's like, by the way, I still love you. That's not going to change or whatever. But if you say no, then it's okay. I'll be sad, but it's okay.
I'll be sad for a couple days. My PRs would be good. That's some pretty cool PRs. Though.
Did you see him like in all his like fancy attire, and he's just in the gym like.
He's just carrying a horse.
Bench a horse.
Oh, red flags, red flags. Or what?
Yeah.
Red flags and men.
I mean, there's so little. Really.
Would you say there's more red flags in men or women? Or is it just like, equal?
Yeah, I mean that's the conversation a lot of people are having today. Like people are either only bashing on men or only bashing on women.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So, I mean, I would say
Women.
No hesitation.
I would say because obviously marriage obviously has to have a head of the household, right? And he has to be the initiator of the relationship, but by default, all relationships that are not being initiated by a man properly and in virtue, are bad relationships. So I suppose, since we see the world how there are so many fallen relationships or distorted views of relationships, then men are failing at that. But maybe they don't know that they're failing at that. I don't know. We weren't raised right because our fathers or our fathers' fathers,
Or our forefathers.
Founding fathers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's why we want to actually follow our faith and our vocation,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to raise good men and women.
Exactly.
That's
so that way that instead of starting generations of bad men, we start generations of good men.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We have some guidelines.
I mean, that's why we're talking about vocation so much, and we tend to be very passionate about it because that's the only way to change the world. Basically, is to change its people. To fill it with good people. That's why we have to have a lot of kids. So we actually raise them right and give them all these right ideals. In the end, they can reject or accept them, but I think if we raise them right, there's a high chance that they will mostly, all of them will grow in virtue. Will know what a virtuous man is, and so that the men, knowing what a virtuous man is, that they can act like that man and initiate holy relationships. You know what I mean? And the women, seeing what a man truly is, and also what a good wife and mother her mom is, will see that and desire that in a man. So obviously, like I said, men are the initiators of the relationship. So if any unvirtuous man were to initiate a relationship with her, then she can know to reject that and not to let go of the virtue that was given to her, just for any pleasure that the relationship gives her, because she knows that at the end her faith is what matters, and that and that she wants to raise kids who are going to be good and who going to have a good example of a father. So yeah.
Basically, iron sharpens iron. He wants a good man so other men can look up to that guy, and the same vice versa for women too. And they can also see the opposite role of a good man too, because we got like loads of like men who are just doing absolutely terrible things, and women are like, oh. but then again, it's just like that bad guy archetype. But you can be a good guy. Nice guys don't finish last. I went way off topic for the nice guy whole argument, but it's more of David's more of just like have a good strong man.
Yeah, like in the end, men are gonna change the world. Like if men are not the initiators of relationships, and they're not virtuous and strong, then nothing's ever gonna change. If the women take their job and they're going to be the initiator of the relationship or whatever, and do you really want a husband that's not going to do anything, that, I don't know, like if there's something really wrong happening with the daughter or the son or whatever, and he's just like, oh, I don't know, it's not my, whatever they want to do, whatever makes them happy or whatever, and the woman's just distraught, like, I'm trying my best to lead this family, but it's like, no, man, like, what you don't understand is that guy, you were supposed to know how to pick a good guy, you know what I mean? And obviously, things happen in life where maybe you didn't know things about him, whatever. That always happens. The moment you see your vows, that is your vocation, But the point is that that men have to take that initiative. Men have to really be strong, because men are the only people that are gonna overall change the world. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because like a lot of times, like throughout history, you see that usually a man is like more easily corrupted than women, and and usually it's the woman that sort of like brings them back, because obviously they want to be with the women, but they're only going to be with a man if they have certain virtues or whatever. But when obviously feminism has been around since Adam and Eve, but now with the feminist movement, like, actually calling it feminism and, a whole movement behind it, what that brought is that actually corrupted women. And so now we're like, okay, things aren't getting better, so we need to start, like you said, take the initiative to start changing things. Because now obviously there's always been bad women, always been corrupt women, but more and more corrupt women, and so.
I think it's because men didn't take the initiative,
yeah, exactly.
and stop whatever craziness that was going on in the feminist movement. Like to begin with, like in the beginning, like feminist women, and this is first generation, although they didn't do anything in the law, but they wanted to work towards marriage. I think women priests. That was something in their list, and they also wanted women to be as promiscuous or whatever, to sleep around as much as men or whatever. And so the only thing that we hear about is voting. You know what I mean? But that's in reality, the people who started the feminist movement, they were actually after so much more, other things that.
So they wanted to start this, to subtly get in.
Exactly, they want to start the domino effect.
It was because feminists, like they didn't want women to see the actual power they have,
You know, because mothers, like, they could change the world just by raising a man right. Raising a boy right.
Yeah, the quote from Father Ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he say it?
Well, I mean, other people have said that, you know, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I think, you know, I don't know what twisted minds these feminists had. You know, they want to do, you know, a lot of crazy things, but they, what's it called? They wanted women to look at motherhood and staying at home and taking care of your own kids as something bad.
Mm-hmm.
As something that's not fulfilling, something that's demeaning, and that won't give you any purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, instead, go to work, get a career, make loads of money, and then you'll be happy.
Alright, well,
And that's not
a
true.
lie.
You know, I mean, the only reason us men have to work, I mean, work is because we have to work to provide. I mean, obviously there's the billionaires that they, you know, they just want money or whatever.
Mhm.
But for us, I mean, we do it out of necessity, you know?
Exactly.
If we didn't have to do this, we wouldn't.
No man wouldn't want to work. The reason why they pick up the shovels is because they have a purpose to pick up the shovel.
Yeah.
They have something behind.
And when Adam and Eve, you know, they you know, ate of the forbidden fruit, he gave a curse to Adam, he gave a curse to Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And to Adam was that he has to work from the sweat of his brow till the day he dies. And to Eve, that, you know, she'll have labor pains, or child, you know, pains during labor. And now women want both curses. You know, they want to take on both. And now you see also men, they're like, oh, I want to just stay home and chill. You know, I want to be a stay-at-home dad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so contrary to the way God made men and women.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be complementary, but not equal. You know, they're not. Well, I mean, like, they don't have the same jobs. They have different jobs, but they complement.
It's so funny how you say that though, because like for the man trying to take the woman's role, it's like he's forsake. You know, he's not taking up the curse that was given him, right? The sweat of his brow, and he still gets no labor pains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the woman takes on the curse of Adam and the curse of Eve. You know?
I was like, I'll take both.
I did want to say that the feminist movement was actually started by men. I don't know if people know that. It was started by the communists, and I can't give you the names, or I can't give you the.
Just to break up the family unit.
Yeah. It was literally to break up the family unit, and I just don't want people to have that misconception, like that women. That's the thing, that men make or break the you know, the civilization. You know, they're the initiators. That's the thing. And anyways, and the other thing about red flags was, the man can't be emotional. The man can't want to stay at home. He has to be hardworking, and the man he has to be selfless, so he can't be trying to take advantage of you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing if he struggles, but you can't. Like, for example, if he struggles really, really bad, like, you know, like he has an addiction, you know, to porn or something like that, and, you know, it's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
However, if he's like, oh, but I really want to hold your hand or whatever, you know, but then, like, sometimes he might go a little bit overboard, and, you know, maybe you guys already, you know, repented from that or whatever, and so then you kind of, you give him another chance. You know, that's just case by case, you know. But overall, he should be
able to control himself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, not a pig. You know, not just selfish and just
What?
and
Maybe I weigh as much as a pig would come
More.
yeah. So those are the red flags I can think of for that.
For the movie, what's your rating?
I mean, I'll give it a, you know, my expectations were shifted, so I'll give it a solid 8.
I'd say 7 or 7 or 7.5.
I was gonna say 7.5 for me. You're so weird.
Wow.
Anyways,
The music though was good.
yeah, we obviously didn't cover and like nearly. I mean, there's just, I guess, a lot to uncover, but I think we covered what we wanted to cover. At least the main things we wanted to cover. And remember, this is about the movie, not the 2005 movie, not the book.
I didn't read the book. I don't care about the book. I don't want to see the book. I didn't see the older movie version. I saw the 2005 one. Okay. And yeah. Thank you, Nicholas, for coming on. And for in short notice too. And thank you, Dave, for coming.
Thank you. This is my home, but thank you for coming.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for hosting. Thank you for hosting my podcast that you co-host. Anyways,
we're
Very
Alright.
pleased to be co-hosting.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to get this guy's phone number, I mean, hey, I'll put it. And
Description.
Yeah, if you subscribe, then maybe I'll think about it.
a premium.
Anyways, well, yeah, like I said, thank you for coming, and God bless.